Welcome to the February 13th, 2023 Education Committee and Supplementary Regular Board Meeting of the Lower Merion Board of School Directors. The board believes it's in its best interest and the best interest of the students of the district to hear comments from district residents. An opportunity will be given later in the meeting for public comment, both in person and through the chat feature, which will be read by Ms. Buckman. This meeting is being live streamed and video recorded with sound for public broadcast. All participants joining via the webinar will need to use the chat feature, which will be enabled during audience recognition. So welcome everyone, thank you for joining us. Our first on our agenda this evening is several presentations. I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Schaefer to introduce them.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you this evening, and I welcome back so many of our wonderful teachers here this evening to present a couple of items that are on the agenda tonight. First, our STEM specials, an update on the progress of that initiative, as well as our problem-based learning update. And I had the pleasure of seeing this presentation at the curriculum committee of the board, and it was really exciting just to see how far this work has come in just a very short period of time. So it's certainly a testament to the hard work of the teachers that are here and all that they represent. So I'm very happy to turn it over to Nancy Aconcha-Mesa to lead off the conversation. Sorry. We have doors locked.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. The first presentation will focus on the elementary STEM special, followed by the problem-based learning K-4. With us today, presenting on the elementary STEM special, are the STEM special teachers who are truly amazing, passionate, dedicated, and beyond talented. Reva Rothenberger, Gladwin Elementary, Lauren Hudson, Belmont Hills Elementary, Lisa Presley, Merion, Emily Visick, Penn Valley, and Elisa Eisenberg, Penn Wynn Elementary. Stacy Adams, who filled in for Emily for the first half of the year, is also here with us tonight, who did a fabulous job. So we wanted to recognize her and have her here with us tonight as well. Debbie Murphy from Kinwood is very sad that she couldn't be here this evening. She's not feeling well and really was very upset that she missed this wonderful opportunity to present, but I wanted to recognize her as well. Okay. Thank you.
This puzzle that you're seeing visualizes the 4 C's of 20th century learning: critical thinking, collaboration, communication, creativity. The STEM special curriculum embraces these puzzle pieces in social, emotional, and academic ways. STEM teaches critical thinking and promotes innovation. The STEM special challenges students to think critically and come up with their own solutions to problems and design challenges. Our STEM classes provide unique opportunities for teamwork and collaboration. Teamwork is one of the most underrated and essential drivers of success. The STEM special classes often involve team activities. Whether students are working together on a design challenge or coding a robot, they actively develop the interpersonal and collaboration skills that they will need throughout their school careers and beyond. Lower Merion School District STEM classes also involve hands-on makerspace projects that foster creativity and problem solving and cultivate a growth mindset.
Our STEM lessons encourage crucial SEL skills like persistence, collaboration, critical thinking, creative innovation, and teamwork. Our coding unit with robots has been especially beneficial for our young learners to navigate using all the habits of mind skills we practiced earlier in the year in our STEM special. SEL makes a big difference in learning. It has a positive impact on academic achievement, healthy relationships, and students' mental wellness. We're also constantly promoting a growth mindset where mistakes are celebrated in our classrooms. So I'm just going to show a little video of some of those mistakes happening while we were coding with Indies.
Oh, I'm scared.
Why are you scared? You're testing it out.
Wait, I'm gonna
Okay.
move this one there.
Oh, let's try it.
Money, you do this. Come on.
Ah, So they were trying to make a loop. They never actually accomplished it before I stopped the video. But just that enthusiasm and excitement, and they weren't wrong. Like, it was just really awesome to watch that in motion at Belmont Hills. The STEM special is impacting the general ed classroom already, and the feedback has been incredible. After a first grade school-wide STEM challenge at Belmont Hills back in October, one of the teachers pulled me aside and said it was the first time they did something whole group where there wasn't a kid broken down or crying or getting upset or flustered. Everybody was working together, so it was really cool to get that feedback so early in the year. Ooh. Uh-oh.
Oh, I'm
Sorry.
scared.
Let's just play. Oh, there we go. Got it. I'm going to go back one. Okay. All right. So Lower Merion School District students are getting the same experience across the district as our team meets weekly to plan our curriculum and share our ideas. In the second trimester, our focus in the STEM special has moved from SEL lessons to coding. We started in December with Unplugged Coding and the Hour of Code. We also had the opportunity to partner with the MCIU during Computer Science Month. Moving into January, it's been all about coding with robots, and the students are absolutely loving it. Our robot resources range from Codapillars, Bbots, and Sphero Indies for our K-2 students, to Edison, Sphero Minis, and Ozobots, among others, for our 3rd and 4th grade learners. Robots are an incredible physical way for our students to see coding in action, and we've worked on a lot of sequences and loops in our classrooms. We've also been able to collaborate with 4th grade classroom teachers in order to support them with teaching circuits in preparation for the Science PSSA. And our upcoming STEM lessons will also continue to include opportunities for students to be creative in our classrooms, maker spaces, as well as working on design challenges, some of which will involve African American STEM leaders as we celebrate Black History Month.
Good evening. Engineering design challenges are a critical part of what we do, giving students an opportunity to work on challenges that require planning and teamwork. What have we done? Well, we've read a book called What to Do with an Idea, and the students had to use materials from the classroom to make something, and they made pencil holders. Even though they were given the same materials, they came up with many different designs for their pencil holders. We also read a book called The Most Magnificent Thing, about a little girl trying to make the most magnificent thing to help her dog walk with her. And our students were asked to make the most magnificent thing that would help them in the classroom. They came up with all kinds of wonderful designs. We also had the cup challenge and the paper challenge, which focused on collaboration, teamwork, and planning. Another curricular tool we use is Picture Perfect STEM. It integrates science and literacy to inspire STEM learning. It makes connections with the real world, allowing students to gain understanding of key scientific concepts. In 1st and 2nd grade, we used Build It and Picture Perfect STEM, where they studied famous architects and architecture from around the world. Then the students were given simple materials to try to replicate them. It was so wonderful to see them making the Eiffel Tower out of packing peanuts, or the Empire State Building out of craft sticks. In 3rd grade, we did Trash to Treasure, where we read a book called One Plastic Bag, about a woman from the Gambia who decided there were too many plastic bags littering her village, and decided to do something about it. Then we had our students collect recyclables and make something out of the material. They had to design a project that would help the earth. They came up with all kinds of interesting designs, such as bird feeders, planters, and organizers. Next slide, please. Or do I push it? All throughout our lessons, we use the engineering design process. It is a series of steps that engineers follow to find a solution to a problem, weaving in the SD standards to empower students to become more creative and use collaboration. We present a problem with a certain criteria and constraints. Then we encourage a growth mindset and a can-do spirit to encourage students to be creative and test their product. Lastly, we share and reflect as a class.
STEM is equitable. Every elementary student has access to the STEM special and all the resources the district has available for elementary students. In STEM, students can feel a sense of inclusion and belonging in a safe place to learn and grow. STEM is for everyone, and all learners benefit from STEM. STEM gives all students the skills to face problems confidently and facilitates a more positive feeling about learning. It is a safe place to make mistakes and learn that we grow from challenges and failures. STEM provides the opportunity for all students, no matter their learning needs, to feel successful.
I'm Grant and I'm in 4th grade. What I like best about STEM is that we get to learn lots of things that we usually wouldn't in class. Like, we learn how to code things and how to build things and things that we really need to learn how to do.
Hugo, how do you feel about STEM?
I think STEM is interesting because when I grow up, STEM will be a lot more complicated.
What do you think about STEM?
I think it's a creative place where I can let my creativity free and I can create.
Awesome.
STEM because we can code robots on the computer and we can code V-Box on the floor. What I think about STEM is that we get to learn about different things and how to program, and because we can learn how to be engineers like other people and build new stuff. I'm Grant.
Moving forward, we'll continue to provide opportunities for students to code robots and also use other programs such as Breakout EDU, which promotes the 4C and SEL skills, CoSpaces, where students build in 3D and add interactions with block-based coding, helping them make future-ready the 21st century skills as well as creativity. We will engage the students in 3D printing opportunities to promote STEM-rich learning focused on design thinking and innovation, and continue with making and design challenges using the engineering design process. Additionally, our group will increase the STEM curricular connections as we have with 4th grade's Energy and Electromagnetism unit, and classroom teacher support, continuing to be leaders in school and district-wide initiatives such as the after-school STEM programs, First Lego League, workshops with Girls Who Code, Dogma, STEM Girls Night that we're going to host the first time this March, Family STEM Night that's scheduled for later this year, and then finally our summer STEM program.
Okay, we would just like to conclude our presentation with this wonderful video made by Lauren. It really captures the essence of what it's like to be in one of our STEM classrooms, so I'm sure you'll get a feeling of what our everyday is like.
gonna change it. Oh.
Just a puppet on a lonely string. Oh, who would ever want to be king? I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman Catholic choirs are singing. Mirror, mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know Saint Peter will call my name. Ever alone this world, but that was when I ruled the world.
So again, thank you, Lower Merion School District and the board, and especially Nancy for just providing opportunities for us to really create an innovative experience for our students. Thank you.
Thank you so much, each of you, for being here tonight and sharing this presentation, and also for having come to our curriculum committee meeting a few weeks ago. I wanted to open it up to the board to see if anyone had questions. Go ahead.
Hi there. So I said this at our curriculum committee meeting, but I wanted to say it again at our full board meeting that this special is fantastic. I personally have a third grader, and her STEM special is her favorite of the week. She looks forward to Fridays every single day. She is a real Mrs. Murphy fangirl. And it's really great. Like my kid is predisposed to liking this stuff, but like it's really great to have your kid come home from school and want to talk about like changing the type of robot that she was working with in her school. Like it's a really engaging thing that I can really see the difference that the kids are getting, and the educational value, and also just the personal confidence. Like to have a third grader feel super confident in talking about the workings of a robot is pretty fantastic. And so I think that this has been a really great new thing that you've developed. We approved. I can't take credit for it other than to say I said yes enthusiastically, and we made a good choice because it's really a fantastic program, and kudos to all of you. It's fantastic. I love seeing all sorts of different faces, female faces, faces of all different colors doing this that would not have necessarily in previous generations necessarily felt as welcome in these kinds of fields. And so I'm really happy with it all around. So thank you for all your work.
Thank you. We are known to be really close with Jim as top special in some of our classes, so we're pretty excited too.
So I will follow up on that and just ask you to provide sort of a brief primer on, so this is a new special this year that sort of goes along with PE and music, and it's K through 4, first 1 through 4.
It is K through 4. We do have, in 3 of our schools, we have full day kindergarten, which I'm sure you're aware, but we also have our other teachers that do not service the full day are pushing in, and like once a month or as often as they can getting in, so that the kindergartners are experiencing, and not only that, we're working with our students of all abilities really come to us and see us every week. So it's so powerful and so encouraging to see all of them be successful with this.
Mr. Moore?
Yeah, and again, more a comment than a question. Just really excited to see this, particularly starting even younger. I introduced the Legos robotics program at Penguin long time ago, and my kids are all out, but that started at 4th grade, and so one of the things that was really disheartening was that students couldn't participate. And I think because I was the person that did it, my 3rd grader got to participate because his dad was running the program. And but there was such an interest even in younger ages, and so I'm really glad to see that we now have that exposure all the way through. And that younger one did TSA from middle school through high school, and and even on doing research in college and all that, but it's because he sparked that interest early on and stuck with it. So great.
Thank you. It does. It lays the groundwork, and you can see how excited they are. And they come in and they see the robots, the kindergartners who are using the Codapillars see the B-bots, and they're like, well, when are we going to use those? And it just kind of goes on from there. So it's really exciting to see this come together, and we appreciate you and your support.
If they're really interested in the B-bots, you can tell them that the children's wing of the Kinwood Library has some of those B-bots in their library that they can go play with them if they want to preview.
Ms. Garrison?
I just wanted to dovetail off of everybody else. I think it's wonderful that you have the program, and I also did a Lego League at Penguin when my child came after Sean, and that was wonderful. But I was curious. I did have one. That was my comment, and great job. You had mentioned that you were doing something with African Americans in STEM, and I was just curious as to what that was or what that is.
So right now with our 3rd and 4th graders, we just introduced Ozobots, which is a very tiny little robot that follows color sensors and follows color codes. And there is a lesson that discusses influential African Americans. So we're reading about Barack Obama and Jackie Robinson and Harriet Tubman, and the children are then creating a timeline. So we're, incorporating the reading and not a whole lot of research. Unfortunately, we don't have the time, but then they're putting the influential people in chronological order to create a timeline. So that's another really wonderful teaching opportunity because they don't do a whole lot of timelines at this age. And then we're coding Ozobot to actually travel through time. And so, going up and down. But then in addition, we have a number of design challenges where we are reading books, Counting on Catherine with Katherine Johnson, or Lonnie Anderson, who invented the Super Soaker. So we're reading the books.
And he lived in Philadelphia for a while.
Exactly, right? And so then the children are actually completing design challenges or, making things. And there's a lot of making, especially with the younger ones. And we have the opportunity to have them make with physical materials or an example today, I was having my children actually built a podium for Martin Luther King Jr., and that was the activity that we were working on. So the 2nd graders use manipulatives, they use tape and paper and straws. The 1st graders, it was easier for them to use their Lego and their Duplo and the Kiva planks that we have to build that, and they're getting that experience both sides.
That's wonderful. And I just want to plug the Franklin Institute because we have Derek Pitts, I have to say it, who is the chief astronomer, and he's been there for like over 30 years, so. And he's alive.
Just okay. I need to get that number from you.
Ms. Schaffmeister?
Echo the same sentiments. This is wonderful, and I like to see that all kids are getting an opportunity to be motivated to want to learn and get better. I was just wondering, when you were talking about reading books and all this, how do you bring the skill level of every child up to what's needed so they all have what they need when they come to class and to cooperate and work together on solving a problem? Is that done in your class, or is that done with the teachers in their respective classes?
So when the children come to STEM, we are doing read alouds. So we will read the book, but as far as, so they're not, third and fourth graders are reading what we were doing today with the influential people. So we're helping them. So there are children who, you know, depending on their abilities, they need a little bit more support. But because of the collaboration piece and the teamwork, everything we do is, you know, I'm constantly telling the children, this isn't something you have to do on your own. We're here to help each other. Ask your table talk. It's very noisy in our STEM class. I mean, you saw some of it, but it's encouraging that. And then, so that not only gives the children who need a little bit of extra help the confidence to work with their peers, but also the children who are a little bit better, it's empowering to them because it's in a very, it's in an atmosphere where they're not threatened, they're not feeling like someone's judging them. We are all working together. And I always tell my kids, and I think we can all attest to this, that the person who makes the most mistakes in the room is me, because all of this robotics and all of the things we're doing, you know, none of us ever had anything about this. So we're learning with the children. Did that answer your question as far as how that works?
Oh, definitely, but when as you were speaking, you reminded me of something. I think I asked this at the curriculum committee, but want to ask it again. When you're dealing with kids with sensory issues, and when you are in a no-seat classroom, sometimes this is not a good atmosphere for certain kids. How do you handle that?
So with the children, you know, we work very closely with the classroom teachers, with the special education teachers, so that we understand what the children's needs are. So there's a lot of that communication at the teacher and assistant level. If we have a child who we know is, you know, needs a little break or it's a little bit too noisy. We just made drums. We're in the process of making drums for one of our activities, and it's really noisy. And so what we can do is we allow the children to go out in the hallway. We are aware of them, but not only the kids that we're looking for or might be identified, all the children at certain times, they might need a little break. So it's really taking our classroom skills that we've mastered over the years and just recognizing and being involved with the children enough to be able to say, okay, there's going to be a little bit of a breakdown here. Go get a drink of water, go take a break, and that we've been able to, 99% of the time we can stop any kind of challenges before they start for the children.
Great, thanks. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We really appreciate your support.
You're free to go.
I think we're going to transition right into the problem-based learning presentation. Whenever you're ready. Looks like we're teed up. Thank you, Denise.
Good evening, everyone. You need to do this first.
Introduce all of you first. Okay. All right. So with us today for the PBL are, and I have to say this about this group as well, truly amazing, passionate, and talented educators who developed a prototype anchored in the Grade 4 Ecosystems Unit that was used by the other grade level teams to plan and develop their own PBL. Their hard work is recognized and truly appreciated by everyone. And I just sentiments that I have for the STEM special teachers definitely apply to the group of teachers who developed this framework for the PBL. So thank you. So we have Abby Oppenheim, raise your hand, from Merion, grade 4, Kate Rafferty, grade 4 teacher at Penn Win, Lisa Eisenberg, STEM special teacher and former 4th grade teacher at Penn Win, Kaisa Thompson, grade 4 teacher at Penn Valley, Barbara Johnson, gifted teacher at Black Rock Middle School, formerly in the same position at Belmont Hills, and also a former grade 4 teacher at Belmont Hills. And not present today, but integral in the development of the prototype and ecosystems PBL are Kimberly Phillips. She is at the P&C conference tonight. She is our middle school instructional technology integration specialist, formerly a grade 4 teacher at Belmont Hills. And then Brittany Allberger, special education teacher at Penn Valley, who could not be here this evening. So I'm going to let them present their amazing work. And I'm starting with Barbara.
Thank you. Sorry to jump in too quickly. Thank you again for providing the opportunity for us to share with you in the development of our 4th grade prototype PBL. We are happy to be here again and share our exciting journey. Some of you have heard of PBLs before and maybe by other names. It's known, in the words are thrown around, a community-based, scenario-based, inquiry-based. The most popular, of course, is project-based and problem-based. Project-based being born out of the Dewey constructionist pedagogy. We have adopted problem-based because we believe that that is a more modern term, and what we're doing is introducing a real-world problem to our students that they can wonder about and try to come up with solutions for those and provide their solutions to an authentic audience. How we got here, the pathway to our PBL, it really falls under the umbrella of the Lower Merion Strategic Plan, using those guiding principles during the time when we were reimagining what the learning experience will be for our students K-4, 5 to 8, gave us an opportunity to really take a look at what we have now, and is there a way that we can transform that? And in that, there were 3 really vital subcommittees that were formed: the Scheduling Committee, the Social Emotional Learning Committee, and the Transformative Curriculum Committee. They worked in tandem, first individually coming up with what was important and necessary to really move our district forward, but then collaboratively in order to develop the direction that we wanted to move in terms of the learning experience for our students. For the transformative curriculum, the way that we actually did it, we had to develop, using the guiding principles of our strategic plan, we had to develop a vision and a mission of what we thought, taking some of those things that were so vital and precious to us as teachers and administrators and members of the community of Lower Merion in our strategic plan and incorporating those in the development. So we looked at what was out there, what was the best and most current research-based practices. We did some site visits and reflections on what we liked about the particular sites that we had visited that had progressive programs. We had to evaluate what we currently had going on in our curriculum. We had to research and develop and find ways to have cross-curricular connections. Where are those natural connections made? And we really looked at problem-based learning, PBLs, which here, and you'll probably hear it referred to as PBLs, at their gold standard, and how that gold standard actually complemented our strategic plan. And that really gave us the direction to go in terms of developing this prototype as a PBL. It was not only was it important to make sure our students were engaged, and through our research we found that a problem-based learning approach, that framework engaged our students. We also wanted to make sure it was going to meet the academic rigor that we wanted to provide for our students. The 2 graphs you see, the one on the left is a study of 3rd grade students, and it's science reading scores, and the green represents baseline data, and the blue is the post-assessment following the implementation of PBL, and you can see there is significant growth that the students had made when they implemented the PBL. Though we're not doing it in a high school, you can see the graph on the right represents advanced placement, and you can see that even in that circumstance, there was an opportunity for growth using implementing PBLs. The gold standard, which in the wheel that you see here in this slide, if you may recognize some of the points and the standards that they use as those that we hold so dear in our own strategic plan. We wanted student voice and choice. We wanted to have challenging problems. We wanted to have public products and reflections and authenticity. So using this as well as our strategic plan, that guided us to create the prototype for the PBL. It's not just a project. The idea is that we are solving this problem that's being given to children with an essential question and guiding them along the way and bringing in other disciplines in order to make their learning more contextual, with the idea, of course, that there's life success at the end and career readiness. Often you'll hear the word transdisciplinary used in speaking about the development of the PBL, and that varies. It's different from, or I should say it is the increasing levels of integration from just looking at disciplinaries or interdisciplinaries to transdisciplinary, where it's a real-world problem, where the students then can apply what they've learned to that. And in this case, you'll hear a bit more from my colleagues about how we're really embedding this in the PBL prototype that we've done for 4th grade. And with that, I will turn it over to Kaisa.
Thank you again for welcoming us this evening. So on this slide, you'll see that when we went about after our 2 years of working in the K-4 committees and identified the PBLs as a learning modality that we could incorporate into the reimagined K-4 Lower Merion experience, is that we wanted to leverage units that are already in existence, that teachers have familiarity, and build from that. So when we were developing our prototypes, we identified in each grade a science unit that already is happening, whether it was a FOSS kit. Here in 4th grade, we're using one of our STC science kits, and then building from there. So you can see on this list, each grade has identified a different science unit. You'll see in the younger grades, right now we're in a piloting and implementation plan of next year, but in grades 3 and 4, we're living and breathing it right now here in trimester 2. You'll see in a few slides when a few other teachers come up and present, you'll see a highlight of the ecosystems in 4th grade. So this is really what grounded each of the PBL assignments that the students were doing. So in our development of the prototype, we wanted to come up with a framework that would carry us through the entire K-4 experience, that any time a student was approaching a PBL, they saw the same sequence. So this was the process and the framework that we identified, that Kim Phillips found from a workshop she had attended, that we used as our framework to guide all of our PBL. So you'll see it goes through 4 phases. We have the entry event, research and exploration, create, and share. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what happens in each one of those component parts. But we wanted to develop a framework that really allowed our students, year 1, they're seeing this for the first time, but we're hoping to build that capacity that our kindergartners, our 1st graders, when they hear PBL, when they get to us in 4th grade, they're like, oh, we know this. We're going to have that entry event. We're going to have that research. We're going to have it create and share, that it just becomes integrated. And I likened it to when we started our Habits of Mind work a few years ago. I remember as a 4th grade teacher, when we were introducing it, there was a lot of legwork that first year to get the kids into that mindset. Now, I say to my 4th graders, what habit of mine are they using? And they can rattle off, oh, I was persisting today because I didn't give up. That it's just become ingrained in them, that we're hoping that if we have a framework we're using through K-4, that framework, that when we say PBL, the kids are like, oh yeah, I know what this looks like. So the first part is that entry event, and this is really what's hooking them in, giving them the why behind the problem that they're going to be attacking. And you can see from this slide, we're looking at low tech and high tech. With 4th grade, we were actually able to tie this into one of our field trips, our guaranteed experience through the Lower Merion Conservancy. But part of the hook in the entry event, we also we're looking to our future. We know that our next generation science standards are kind of coming on the horizon right now. So we wanted to look, and a big part of the NGSS standards is giving the why to the science units. We know when all of us were in school, okay, it's in biology class, I'm here learning biology. Now I'm going to go to science, I'm going to go to a different class, this is what I'm learning. NGSS really builds a framework around phenomena, looking at the real world and explaining science through, well, why is that way? And giving purpose to the learning. So our entry events, we've all grounded it in looking at the world around us and having that launch the problem. So that it's not that I'm learning about an ecosystem just because my teacher says I'm learning about an ecosystem. I'm learning about it because I've identified a problem in my local ecosystem. I want to learn more about it and teach the world how to solve this problem. So the entry event gives this authentic reason and is the why that introduces the problem. Then the next phase, you're doing research and exploration. For many of our units that we've developed, this is where we're using our science units to build in background knowledge. You'll hear from Abby in a little bit how we've also integrated some ELA reading to build background knowledge. And you'll see in this one, Abby will talk about it as well, but these are our eco columns that all 4th grade teachers right now have growing in our classrooms, lots of living critters. But it's really those hands-on experiences to build the why behind the problem that they've addressed. Then the next part is the create. This is where they're creating something to present to an authentic audience. So our 4th graders, for example, are creating a PSA, a public service announcement, to teach the community about something they've identified as a problem in their ecosystem. And then a major part of the PBL is the share. And the share goes beyond just your typical, I'm going to present to my class, but but to present to a broader community. So that's where we're looking right now at inviting some of you in, if you would like to hear our students' presentations, to see their projects, to see what they've created and become so passionate about through our learning. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show you the 4th grade prototype. This was the one that was developed first, and we're now, like I said, we're living and breathing it right now. So now our next few slides are going to kind of delve in as a little case study of the 4th grade PBL on ecosystems.
So what you have here is a page from our current science curriculum. It is what we use for our ecosystems unit, and that was our starting place for this PBL because of the just natural connections that were there already that we could build upon. From there, we looked for those other opportunities. We were moving into our nonfiction informational unit, so there were opportunities to read passages that supported our ecosystems unit while still working on those ELA skills as well. We worked with our librarians. In math class, we were, in math and the ecosystems unit, we were collecting data, measuring, problem solving, analyzing the data as well. And we were also working with the STEM specialists. They're supporting us in STEM class, as well as providing enrichment opportunities, extensions that students can do that go along with the PBL. And then also our social emotional learning standards that we're working on, where we're giving kids the time to practice. We're modeling for them those skills that they need to be doing the problem solving, the group work as well. We're using morning meeting time to work on some of those skills, as well as when we're working on when we're building the eco columns and when we are working on the PSA, especially after, and I'll talk actually a little bit more about that on one of the future slides. This is where we have our current connections with the Lower Merion Conservancy, which worked obviously with our starting place for the entry event, as well as they come and visit us at school. And also the Lower Merion Township, their sustainability program really helps make that authentic connection at the end when we're creating this PSA, and that this is something that connects to Lower Merion and our local community and our ecosystems. It will also allow for future authentic connections as well when we have either people from the township, the school district, be able to come and listen to the presentations from the students. Right. Social emotional learning was a very big component as we created this PBL, especially after the last few years. There's been a loss of time in terms of group work and problem solving with other students. So that was something we wanted to make sure that there was time built into the schedule to be able to do that. So morning meeting, again, is an opportunity for that, as well as giving students the opportunity to feel supported and work through some of those situations. It's also that time to promote inclusion for the classroom, build a sense of belonging, a sense of classroom community as the students work through this unit together. I have a couple pictures up here of some of the students working through some of the different activities that we did in the beginning of this unit, where they were learning what type of group member they were and what happens when you are in a group with other students that are the same type of group member you are, or is it better to have all the different types? For instance, if you look at the posters, the acting group, those are the kids that just like to get started right away. And you can see they crossed off all of their answers because they just got started right away and didn't read through all the instructions. So there's those opportunities for the kids to practice and kind of work through some of the real life situations that they're going to come across to get more out of the group work opportunities and problem solving.
So as we said earlier, for a PBL to be successful, students really need to be invested in by working to solve a real-world problem. So the question that you see here, how do we inform our community to make positive choices and changes to protect our local ecosystem? This question was developed from our big idea that as humans we interact with our environment, and as such, any change that we make, no matter how small, will impact the environment in some way. So that is really the overarching theme of the PBL, to answer this question through our public service announcement. We then move on to the entry event, as we were talking about NGSS phenomena, and with fourth grade, we introduce them, we first start to look at pictures, and we use this phrase, say, mean, matter, because what this does is it really helps the children start to analyze what we're looking at, what does it mean, and this phrase then lends itself to our ELA study of TDAs, which in fourth grade, that's a very, very big part of our reading and writing for the PSSAs. So it's everything we do is kind of just focusing on keeping it together for them and seeing the connectivity of it. The first two photos are from Scholastic News, which is a resource that's available to all fourth grade students. And the third photo is from our Mill Creek visit that we went to in the fall as the entry event. So this is where the students really begin the process of generating their own questions, diving deeper into that transdisciplinary learning idea. Okay. Our experience at Mill Creek then connects the essential question to our community. So back in the fall when we visited the creek, the children participated in a stream study to analyze the macroinvertebrates to determine the health of the stream. So they actually got into the water and they got wet and they had a great time, and then they also participated in some other activities with the Lower Merion Conservancy educators. And again, everything kind of goes back to how can we make this more authentic and closer to home. So we then took the children, and the next three photos are from our schoolyard, where we went and we looked and analyzed what do we see there and how can we, how does that impact us, how's what we do impact them. So it really does expand on the authenticity of the PBL even before we start to branch into the science unit that we do. And then working with the educators at the Conservancy for about the past 5 years, their program's wonderful because they will tailor their programs to our science curriculum and branch out from there. So we had them, again, we went to visit the creek in October, and as we speak, the last week and this week, the Conservancy has come in to further discuss watersheds and human impact on the environment. They talk about pollution and stormwater runoff, and again, providing further authenticity to the PBL. And we also are in the process of working with them. Lower Merion Conservancy has a grant that they would like to work with our schools to plant native plants and shrubs, so that's kind of in the works, but again, the more that we can connect to the environment and the community, the more real and impactful this is for our students.
So the next phase is our research and exploration, and I didn't bring fish with me today. The other day I had fish. They're all still living. Fish are good, snails are good, crickets not so much.
I was very concerned about Tiny. Tiny made it.
Tiny made it? Tiny's good. But so that picture is actually from my windowsill. Those are our current eco columns. They're doing okay, but this is our research and exploration phase. They get to plant the plants. They have to get the vegetation to grow before we can add the crickets. And then we create the aquarium, let the water sit, talk about why the water is sitting. They add the snails, they add the fish. There's some water plants in there that feed the fish. The students have learned through this phase that the water plants didn't last as long, so we were brainstorming ways to feed the fish in order to keep our eco column healthy. Apparently cat food, dog food, any of those things they found could feed these little mosquito fish. Tropical fish food also works. They figured that out. So they have had to feed the fish a little bit, which I've never had to do before because the Elodia, they just ate it all. And they have hypothesized that the water is too cold in the winter for the water plants to grow. So they are continually observing these. One of the eco columns got overpopulated with crickets. Somebody caught too many, and a lot of the crickets didn't make it. So then they're also exploring, why did the crickets not make it? What happened? Very hands-on for this activity. And through this entire process, we are graphing the plant growth. Sometimes they grew an inch a day, sometimes they didn't grow at all. There's 3 different plants in there, so they recorded all of that to make sure. So that ties it right to our data in our math unit. So they're creating graphs, they're observing, they're working in partners, they're working on those SEL skills that Kate had talked about. And some of them have ideas about what they should and shouldn't do to their eco column, but they're not allowed to make any decisions. Some of them wanted to feed the fish a lot, and they had to have conversations with their group members about what could happen if we overfed the fish. So they're constantly communicating and talking. And then some of those resources that you see are from the ELA resources that we worked really closely with Dory Martin Patone in order to tie our nonfiction unit directly to our ecosystems and our PBL, so that we were using cross-curricular and exposing kids to all of these resources. So the next slide is those resources. So every 4th grader across the district has Storyworks, which comes monthly. The Rescue in the Rainforest is an article from Storyworks from January that we actually just used. The Problem with Plastic and Helping the Honeybees is from Scholastic News, which comes most of the time weekly with up-to-date articles that are high interest for the students. And again, all students in 4th grade have access to those resources. That was really important to us to make sure that everybody across the district was being exposed to the same material and that we weren't kind of picking and choosing and kids were missing things. A lot of these resources also are accessible to students of all ability levels because they are leveled at times, and they have read aloud option, they have vocabulary options, so they make it accessible for everybody in our classrooms. And a lot of our special education teachers also use them to support their classrooms so that their students who may not be in my room for reading are also still getting exposed, so they're coming into science with the background knowledge. And the next phase is the create phase. So this is the phase that I'm currently in right now in my classroom. The job of the students is to create a public service announcement of some problem they want to solve in the community. A big problem right now that my kids are choosing to solve is the plastic straw situation, or the plastic like grocery bags. So a lot of them are focusing on that. Some of them are focusing on ways that they could pick up litter. They see litter on the streets, they want to know how they can pick that up. So this is a infographic with student choice. So we have provided a choice board for the students so that not everybody's creating the same thing. They're able to express themselves in a way that they want to express themselves. And then the goal is to present to an authentic audience. You guys, our administrators, parents, because it allows them to own their work and see a purpose behind their work instead of just presenting to their classmates who they've been with all year. The authentic audience is the really important piece. So actually we were brainstorming today in my classroom a list of who could we invite? Who could we share our PSA with? Who is going to be the biggest target audience in order to make the biggest impact? And some of my students were around the city, or they have been traveling and they're taking pictures of infographics and bringing them to me and like, hey, look, is this an infographic or is this a PSA? And we're having conversations about what is a PSA, what isn't a PSA. So it has really created some engagement with them, and I have gotten an email from a couple families about they're now picking up trash they see on the street. So it's creating this authentic experience for all the students that are involved. So in order to make kids own this, that student choice is really, really important. It really helps them step away from sometimes the Google Slides, because that's where they're stuck a lot, is Google Slides. And it gives them a creative outlet. I've had kids who asked me, they were writing, like, can we do a play? Can we record a commercial? They're really thinking outside the box. And we tied it to our opinion writing unit, so it's really trying to encourage them to get people to to take a stand with them in their persuasive writing skills, and in order to make sure that they aren't just putting out something that people are going to walk by and not notice, or not be like, walk away thinking. That's the whole thing. How do we get someone to walk away thinking about what you said? So that's what we have really been working on. And then the last piece that we really are talking about is the reflection piece. So ways that they can come back after they're done their PSA and think about the things that they have done. How did their public service announcement go? So some of the things that we're using are journals, exit tickets, conferencing, self-assessment, peer assessment. The exit tickets have been huge in my classroom because, especially after group work, sometimes they don't all get along. So it allows them the ability to kind of share some things with you that maybe they aren't comfortable sharing in front of their group, so that as you form groups moving forward, you have the ability to think about that SEL piece to make sure everybody is not all of the same group type. We're not all North group members, because that doesn't always work. So moving forward, we're gonna also utilize things like Seesaw, which is one of the platforms we have, and we talked about doing a pre-ecosystems like PBL video and a post-ecosystems PBL video to talk about the ways that they've grown, the things that they have learned. And then this is just a quick video about what happens when students are able to share their work to an audience outside of their classroom. All right, we're gonna.
Traditionally in school, students turn in their work for their teachers and not really anyone else. It might end up in a backpack and maybe on a refrigerator. And that's okay, but at some point students might want to share their work with a larger audience. So what happens when students launch their work to the world? Often students work harder because the work has a deeper meaning. There's higher engagement because students can see the connection between the learning and their world. Students often grow more empathetic as they think about their audience, and they can gain new perspectives and might even build long-term partnerships. This can help them embrace constructive criticism as they receive authentic feedback on their work. Students also engage in iterative thinking, where they improve incrementally with each revision. They're able to learn from their mistakes, and this can help students take creative risks. They become bold and fearless in their creative work. Along the way, they develop a growth mindset. But it's more than that. An authentic launch can help affirm students in their creativity and help them develop their creative voice. They grow more confident as learners and as makers. They become part of a participatory culture, and ultimately, they can change the world. Hey.
So I had a couple of my students ask if you guys had email addresses as they were drafting their list. So if you get an email from a student account, they may be inviting you to come watch their public service announcement. And then Kaisa's gonna finish up with what's coming next.
So as you've seen, this has definitely been a journey. It's been a process that started a few years ago, and it's been amazing to see it play out. I think all of us who are fourth grade teachers right now, it's just been like, it's been inspiring seeing the connections kids are making, taking in directions that we didn't even expect. So we obviously are looking towards what are our next steps with these PBLs. This is something that we're going to continue to grow. So we're looking at, as we're in this, looking and reflecting as teachers as well, as what can we do to enhance this experience even more. So we're looking for how can we integrate more special areas. You've heard how the STEM special is a very natural place for us to be making these connections. Thinking about how we can be integrating makerspace connections, social studies, continued professional development for teachers, so teachers keep building their understanding of PBLs and how to grow this in the classroom. Continuing looking at NGSS, and then taking that feedback we get from teachers, and I kind of now, also the students, what did they really enjoy about it? What did they take away from it? And really incorporating that into our next steps as we continue to grow these PBLs in the future. So that's kind of the bigger overview of what's been happening in PBL with the little snapshot of what's happening in fourth grade. So any questions for our PBL?
Thank you so much for sharing this evening. I'm going to open up to the board if there are any comments or
I have a few. Thanks. This is fantastic. The first time I saw this, I just love that the process that you're following as builders and the process the students are learning to be able to put through. And you see that in great writing courses, and it's so great to see it in STEM. How much of the year for, just say, fourth graders, are they doing a PBL?
Right now, we're taking our whole ecosystems unit, which is typically around a 6 to 7 week unit. Right now, we've extended it a bit longer to about 8 weeks to really give time for that creating that share piece. Because I feel like the share piece is often the one, like, okay, I can crunch your time. We need to do it. Like, we want to do it, and then we've seen how vital, as you've seen, to that part. So we're seeing it span most of our second trimester of our science instruction, and then tapping in when those natural connections can happen in our ELA time. And then that's our next steps of how else we can tap into other subject areas.
So about 8 weeks of the year?
Yeah, about 8 weeks is what the intent of the unit has been planned for.
And what do you think your long-term plans are to turn the majority of the science time of a year into a PBL?
I think that's one of our next steps is to think about taking in on another one. So I don't know if, Nancy, if you wanted to jump in on we're looking to try and incorporate this more and more into other units.
So our plan this year was to start with one unit, get the feedback, and go from there. The other thing, working with Dory Martin-Batone, is looking possibly at creating a social studies PBL. So implementing that next year along with the science PBL, and then getting the feedback and moving from there. So it's that gradual implementation of the PBL. So looking long-term, yes, we would love to have, all of our science units, and I'm not going to speak for Dory, but social studies, but just having those more focused on problem-based learning.
I mean, it is #1 in the field for social studies and government, so it's perfect. And to be honest with you, you're already doing a civics curriculum when you're doing the bags, and the audience you should be presenting in front of are the commissioners. Because this is a community dialogue going on, Narberth band bags, but that could be something that they could say, here's a PB or PSA, I can't get the initials right anymore, and then go and say, like, we want to change this in our larger community. So I think it's kind of a really easy go back and forth. I would check out Action Civics work. That's really big in the high school and the middle school, but it's a really easy connection between the two. Question about the teacher, kind of as you're building this, are you all journaling as well?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of collaboration happening too. So we've this core group where we span several buildings, so it's really nice because we've been checking into how are things going with this part of the unit. Well, the kids have taken that. I was actually just talking with Kate, what spawned an idea in my class. We have a whole wall right now of problems, and the kids are now identifying that, and we've been doing a lot of collaboration across buildings. We also have some intentional time on our professional development days. We've already had some opportunities to come together as grades to share out, here's the big picture, and then we plan after we implement this, we're going to be surveying I keep highlighting fourth grade just because as many of us are with the fourth grade prototype, that we plan to implement to get some feedback and keep working and keeping building it. So teacher voice is a huge part of this, and collaboration and continued discussion of what's working, what's been really amazing about the PBL, and that's something we learned in our own professional development we had during the K-4 committee time, was that PBLs, it's not something you can plan everything out. And that's what's really fun about it, but that's also what makes it a challenging shift to be doing in your teaching, is that things change based on the kids in front of you and what gets them hooked onto things. So like Abby shared her amazing example of how her kids started hypothesizing, well, why is the Elodia not growing as well? Because right now my Elodia at Penn Valley is thriving. So it's like, what's happening? There's a lot of really natural things that are happening. So that teacher voice is a huge part of this as well, and how we can support teachers in implementing these PBLs effectively.
Fantastic. And there are so many resources in our community. Like I was thinking, Riverbend is fantastic for this kind of work. But there's every park in our community has this great piece. Refugia is another one that's a local-based company that is all local indigenous plants. Okay. And I would reach out to them and see if they would come speak about it. But it did make me wonder when I was looking, I think it's like slide 22, with all the kids, and they're looking at the river and then they're looking at the playground. Are they starting to notice the human impact on the land? Okay, because there's like one bug on a kid's hand, and then the other spot there, yeah.
No, it has been really cool to see, like, the kids now, like my kids have, like, they roll their eyes and they're like, oh, humans again. Like, there they go again, ruining this. So they keep hearing, like, the big, like, we have our problems wall, but, like, the big problem is humans. But also then flipping that, because part of our essential question is not just the negative, but what's the positive change we can do to support our community to make positive change? That we can ban the plastic, the reusable plastics, is going to make a significant impact on the larger ecosystem around us. It might not affect my day-to-day, but it's going to affect a larger grand scale. And that's also what's great about the PBL is that it extends their learning beyond just the classroom. It extends it and gives them real world context to why they're learning, which is really the core of those NGSS standards, is giving that why that drives their learning.
And again, perfect right back to a civics class, because when you're doing the water, they're doing a water survey right now of all the waterways in Lower Merion to talk about water runoff, and then that goes into zoning. So that's so perfect for them to cross streams.
And we have our third grade is actually, they're doing a water PBL right now. So third grade is actually, so much of this also too has naturally tied into, so the third grade PBL is all on water, and their final product, they're looking at how to create water filters. So they're learning about different filtration methods and testing that out and creating that and using their STEM knowledge that they're learning about the engineering design process and incorporating that into their PBL learning. So we're really trying to find those like natural connections that really enhance the learning.
It's great. Last presentation in this one, it's the creativity that you're spawning is fantastic. Thank you all.
I was just going to follow up on when you had mentioned that Narberth had done, so Lower Merion Township is in the process of, like, they've started to discuss this, and coincidentally, the one of the township commissioners also happens to be a Penn Valley parent, so that might be a good connection to make.
Noted.
Ms. Garrison?
I just wanted to add a comment for a potential class trip to Waterworks.
That third grade.
Oh, that's third grade. Okay.
You guys are reading our minds. Yes, it's third grade's guaranteed experience is the Waterworks. Their entry event was Waterworks. So you nailed.
Yeah. We battled.
Okay, Schuylkill Environmental Center?
There's another.
Not yet.
We will go on whichever field trips you will.
So it is really great to hear about the shared experiences, because one thing that often comes up across many different topics is the consistency across all of our schools and being a network of schools, and then also sort of that organic within a classroom or within a school community, sort of what grows up. And so I always like to hear the shared experiences, whether it's Lower Merion Conservancy or the Waterworks, and I do believe they go to Riverbend.
Kindergarten goes to Riverbend.
Right? And then also that opportunity to then have within each classroom or within the schools sort of, it organically grows a little bit differently in terms of what the projects are. So I always like that balance. So any other, Ms. Jackman?
Yeah, I actually following up on that, I was one of those parents that went on the Waterworks trips when my daughter was in third grade, and it was fun. If we only could have eaten next door, though. But I actually have a question on slide 27, like the metacognition, thinking about it. I really like that you go to that next step, and because I know me, the project's done, I'm not looking at it and you're making them go kind of more inward and thinking about and their feelings about it and how they could and how they're dealing with things and how they come to the projects. And I'm just wondering, when you're working with the kids, how easy is it for them to draw them out and get them to express themselves?
I always, since we've implemented the habits of mind, one of the habits of mind is thinking about your thinking. And it's something that we model with the kids at the end of lessons. What went well? What are 3 things that went well today with your group? Chart that, write that, have that conversation. What are 2 things we could do better? So it can be those quick conversations. You also heard Abby talking about exit tickets, having them do some writing, to really think about what's going well, what helped you to reach your goals. But also, you heard with the STEM presentation, making mistakes. Reminding them you're only human, that you're not going to have everything perfect this first go around. And I think that's really cool about the PBLs is that they have to tinker with this. This isn't like, these are big problems and how they can attack that. So that thinking about your thinking is just like, it could be that quick conversation with the class at the end, few minutes. It could be a longer exit ticket where they're really stopping and thinking We've also been doing, like Kate said, a lot of front loading with the SEL in the first trimester during our morning meeting, thinking about what helps me to be a good teammate, what helps me to be, what does it look like to listen with empathy and understanding, another habit of mine. So much of when we were looking at the PBL, it complemented so much of what we're already doing and allowing to enhance it. It's giving the purpose to the habits. I keep coming at the habits mind because it really, those 16 habits are so integral, and I think sometimes when we looked at them, we're like, that's a lot to teach an elementary school class. The thing, metacognition, I remember when we looked at it the first time, we're like, how do we teach first grader about that? But you can, and that's what's really cool about that, is that the PBL gives us a way to authentically practice those habits. And one of those is that thinking about your thinking.
That sounds great. Can I have that too?
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, is that sort of process of metacognition helping you sort of evaluate the PBL process as it's going this year and as you're implementing it to the other grades?
I think that it'll definitely be something. I think we were very intentional during the PBLs, making sure to build in those times of those reflections with the kids. So whether it was when we were doing a lot of the SEL classroom community building, that you couldn't implement this PBL week one of school. You have to build that classroom community, that trust, that empathy, that understanding that we can take risks with our learning. So it's so much of the things that we kind of front-loaded with the SEL, they've now been able to apply authentically with the PBL, and then continuing to intentionally weave that in. And then that feedback too from teachers as we're going through this. We really want to keep building this and really addressing what we see in the day-to-day and what's working and what we can tweak to make this even stronger the next time we go around with it.
I just love the way this is set up because everything is being scaffolded by everything else that's related to it, and it's just fantastic. It's really making me super happy. I love this program. Keep up your awesome work. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time this evening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much again for the opportunity.
So moving on our agenda, we have no additional agenda items to add. So we will move to audience recognition. At this time, Ms. Lopera will open the chat feature, and you will see a 10-minute timer appear on your screen if you're at home. Oh, she's going to do it in 1 second. As soon as it opens, you'll be able to submit your comments and or questions via the chat feature. Please be sure to begin with your full name and where you reside within the district in order for your comment to be shared. That is true for both in-person and online comments. Ms. Lopera, do we have any in-person comments for tonight's meeting?
Well, Mr. Willis was here, but he left. So we have Lauren Kleinman, and then Lisa Prosnitz and Ruth Jenkin.
Good evening. I'm Lauren Kleiman. I'm from Bala-Cynwyd. I'd like to speak to the Tierney-Brownstone contract that's on tonight's agenda. First of all, I just want to say I'm a supporter of the Healthy Start Times. I have 5 children in the district ranging from 5th grade through 12th grade, so it's a huge impact to my family. So I just want to make sure that I say that before I say what I have to say about the contract. In reviewing the scope of work, though, I have some concerns about the scope of work with contract. When thinking through impact to the families in this district, I think about my own job. I'm a lifelong educator. I work as an administrator in another district, in an urban district. And I think about the families that are most impacted by the change in start times. Those with 2 working families, those with a single parent, those who have our wraparound services, those who are dependent on transportation. And when I'm looking at that contract, they are planning on surveying parents who after school, those at pickup and at delivery, and that's a bias survey method. And so I'm very concerned about how we're planning on collecting that information and whether we're hearing from the parents who are going to be impacted the most by the change in start times. And so I just asking that the board reconsider that method of collecting data so that we are looking at our families that are most impacted and that we're making sure we're hearing from those families. So that's what I'm asking tonight, is that you reconsider that information and that scope of work and how we collect that information. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I think the scope that you read was part of what they're engaging, or what we're engaging them for, and it's because I kind of got hung up on the word survey a little bit, and their design is, as one aspect of gathering feedback, is to be present. And so it's going to be part of our guidance to them to say where to go and when. One example that they've used in the past that they shared with us and included as an example is to be at pickup and drop off as one place where they could collect feedback. We are also launching a survey that will go to everyone as well. So everyone will have that opportunity to answer a survey, and we're making sure that in each place that we gather feedback, there's a similar prompt or similar prompts, so we're able to use that information in a coherent way in framing what the concerns are, what the challenges are, what people like, what people don't like. So that is one place that we will be gathering feedback, but we will be doing focus groups as well, and also looking at other opportunities to be present where families are, and they gave some other examples of that. So it's our job internally is to point them in the direction where they're most likely to find people that may choose not to take an online survey, but may be willing to engage in a conversation just like at drop-off. So I appreciate the question, but I would emphasize that that's part of the puzzle, and there are many other opportunities to gather feedback as well.
Thank you. As I was going through the calendar to identify, at the end of each meeting, I say, here's some events that are coming up. And one I thought that I had is that there are events at schools, like in the evenings, whether it's a carnival or it's the Welsh Valley Play or, LM Players. So that could be other opportunities to have sort of that in-person connect with families that might not be, because I think that you're exactly right. In our district where many students take buses, that might not be the best or the only way to connect with, because that would be a very specific demographic of parents. I think that's a really fair concern.
Perfect. Thank you.
Lisa Prosnitz.
Hi, I'm Lisa Prosnitz, Penn Valley. Here tonight to thank you all for helping to continue to push forward on implementing healthy school start times for the fall of 2023. Standing on the shoulders of many parents who have been talking about this since 1999. I looked at the proposals briefly today that are being voted on tonight and do have some other questions in addition to the one that was just presented, but I'll leave that one out. One is how the data will be, how you'll be using the data collected, if it's going to be used to figure out the best way to implement in 2023, or if it's more of a way to say yes or no on the implementation. Sorry, I can't even read my own handwriting. Will the work help ensure that we are doing what needs to be done to have healthy start times voted in? I guess that was kind of a add-on to the other question. Another question is, we have that Sleep at Lmsd email that's been out for a while. I know you guys have been getting a lot of emails. I'm just hoping that we're kind of building on that. I assume we are, but just keeping that out there. My other question is what we are doing about education before surveys. We have a wealth of speakers in our community. We have sports psychologists who can speak to athletes about the impact of sleep on their performance. We have sleep physicians who can speak with families, parents, students, staff about biology and sleep needs. We also have connections to national speakers like Dr. Wendy Troxel, who gave the TED Talk, Dr. Judy Owens, who wrote the American Academy of Pediatrics paper, and Lisa Lewis, who recently has published a book and has a new one coming out shortly as well. And so I just really want to urge the education piece. I know that all of us have been talking about this for so long, but there are a lot of parents, especially with younger students, who really don't understand the science and what's happening. Last point is that there is a lot of information that already exists on the Start School Later website. They're a tremendous resource. They also do offer consulting services at a very reasonable, probably too reasonable a rate. They're incredible team. So there are a lot of fact sheets there, and I'm hoping that the ones that we create will leverage their data and also will include all the critical information that could be used to educate the community. So that's just a tremendous resource. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brosnitz.
Ruth Jenkins, I didn't know if you were going to say anything.
While she's coming up, I'll try to answer a few of the questions, because I think there's some comments in there that I would just echo that we understand the importance of the education piece. We're part of the engagement process is to make sure that we're communicating out that information as well as opportunities for engagement. So the other question about the sleep at lmsd.org, that information is being looked at daily, and it's informing our internal work on the operationalizing of the potential schedule for next year. So how are we using that information in real time? Because we're talking about the timeline that we're on is figuring out like what are the needs and how are we able to sort of position resources to meet those needs in real time. But we're also potentially going to engage another consultant to do a more formal analysis on that, but know that in real time we're looking at it internally. We're also sharing that information with the board, some summary updates every week on that. So it's important information to us in this moment, as again we're working on the operational pieces of it. And if I didn't answer anything, we can talk later. Okay. Sure.
Good evening. Ruth Jenkins from Wynwood. About the sleep situation on the website, on the Low Merion website, there is a section where you can write in some thoughts also, which my concern is your very young children who are going to be going to school later and coming home in the dark, and that in-between grade. I just wanted to talk about the STEM for a minute and how I don't understand any of it, but I'm so excited for everybody who does, and I support it entirely. I missed that year at school. But in terms of the community connections that was just talked about, where they go to the Mill Creek and I think we have to include Oakwell in that process as well. And the community, as far as the students are concerned, we can see that it's been very successful because the high school students are very vocal and supportive of leaving Oakwell as a natural habitat. Also concern about the lights on Arnold Field, which also destroys a natural habitat with migration and the night sky. The other thing is the why, and I think that the why needs to be part of every classroom. If you don't know why you're doing this, or why you're reading it, or why you're studying it, then it doesn't have any meaning at all. As far as the STEM was concerned, I wanted to mention that Sean's son got an award, a robotics award, when he was in high school. Is that correct? Okay, so I remember that. The other thing was the full-day kindergarten. And, I see the same people doing everything. I see the same people on the diversity task. I see this. It's too much. Last meeting, I there were so many people here, and I was the last speaker. I really didn't have time to talk about the fact that you really are working way too hard and that you need support people, you need experts. You can't be an expert in everything. And I think you need a kindergarten expert, somebody who can focus on getting the buildings ready, knowing where the walls need to be changed, knowing how to find, and I already did find, a building that can be converted into an overflow building. So I want you to think about not having to do everything, but to find people who can support you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins.
That's all the in-person comments.
Ms. Buckman, can you please read any public comments that were submitted via the chat feature?
Sure. The first comment is from Abby Rubin of Bala-Cynwyd. She says, in reviewing the proposed contract for approval, it looks like you will be spending $141,000 to hire a PR firm until April to field parent-resident feedback for healthy start times. This use of precious money at a time with so many other priorities, including hiring more bus drivers and making full-day kindergarten happen in 2024, seems like a poor use of funds. Please consider tapping into existing staff to field these emails. Also, limiting the number of respondents in these focus groups to less than 50 people each does a disservice to the families and residents who want their voices heard. Thank you. The next comment is from Dina Yaski of Wynwood. I am concerned with the district's proposed budget item to hire a private PR firm for $141,000 to handle communications and listen to community feedback regarding school start times. The community is greatly invested in the school start time issue and deserves to be heard by the district and board members directly, not through a paid third party who plans to restrict opportunities for representation and community voice by capping participant numbers. The district has its own department that should be capable of handling community engagement that is already funded through taxpayer dollars. Spending $500 an hour on an outsider whose job is to make the community feel heard can be seen as patronizing and a large waste of funds that could be better spent raising driver salaries yet again to help reduce run times or supplementing the very real financial burden elementary families will be facing in increased morning child care with the 9:20 a.m. start time. The next comment is from Kate Legge of Wynwood. I want to make a comment about the school start times and the money you have budgeted for the contract for the third party. This doesn't seem to be money well spent. It does not seem like you are educating parents on why the science says to put the middle school even earlier and the elementary school even later. Further, it doesn't seem like you are open to any change from the proposal despite not sharing the science behind your proposed change. To me, the contract seems like it is just rubber stamping what you have already decided. The next comment is from Sarah Thomas of Wynwood. I am writing to urge the board to seek more information prior to voting on the action item for Tierney-Brownstone agreement on the agenda tonight. This agreement is for an outside PR firm to create and disseminate information regarding school start times on behalf of the district. The district has a community relations department which should be responsible for communications regarding start times. The $141,000 price tag for this agreement does not seem to be a good use of district resources. Also concerning is the limit on participants for the Brownstone sessions, 40 participants for virtual sessions and 30 participants for in-person sessions. Why have a cap on virtual sessions? She continues, finally, I am very concerned about the following statement from the scope of work. Brownstone will facilitate each session, but encourages at least 2 board members to be present for each session so that attendees truly feel that they are being heard. So does the district actually want to listen to feedback, or do they just want residents to feel heard while an agreement has essentially already been made? The next comment is from Jill Altschuler of Merion Station. The work on social emotional learning in the elementary schools that we heard about tonight is truly amazing and essential. Are there any measurements being taken so there's actual data on the effectiveness of the SEL aspect of the STEM and PBL? I'm sure there is, but having actual data is an important way to show that something is working or not. Also, how is this type of SEL continuing in the middle schools and high schools so that the students can continue to build on all of the soft skills the students have learned as they transition into older grades? The next comment is from Kathy Jordan of Narberth. I would like to encourage the board to modify the scope of work for the Tierney proposal, specifically to use only methods that will be equally open to all parents. I would encourage you to have the DEI director look at the survey methods from an equity perspective. Furthermore, the comment in the scope of work about mock Q&A sessions should also be held so that leaders are well prepared to deliver the key messages under all circumstances does lead to the impression that parents are being managed and should not accept to receive genuine responses to their heartfelt concerns. That seems to be a poor use of taxpayer funds, given that the district already has a PR professional on staff. I think this work could be accomplished with a smaller, more fiscally responsible contract. And that is the end of the comments in the chat.
Thank you, Ms. Buckman. On the one, just struck me on the one comment around the social and emotional learning, tomorrow morning is an ISC hot top specifically on the district's work around social and emotional learning. So I just thought I would add that plug.
I was just going to address some of the comments around Brownstone and Tierney. First of all, Amy, I think you're getting a lot of positive accolades. So I just wanted to point that out, which is lovely and well-deserved. Number one, I think I just want to make sure it's clear with everybody out there that we are looking to the community to look for solutions. This is something that affects all of us, and it absolutely has negatives more for some than others. And we want to make sure that when we make a decision, we are well informed of not only the problems that occur, but also what are the potential solutions for that. And we do not have a robust enough team to do this kind of community engagement. So we need to tap in on expertise here. We also don't have the team that does this type of community engagement. This is very unique and when done well, really extremely effective. So I really appreciate your comment earlier about looking at the scope of the work and saying, where are we engaging? Because it's so unbelievably important to get this right, to engage with the community, to find out what are the problems that we're not even thinking of, and what are the solutions. So again, I ask everybody to come with your problem, but come with the solutions too. And we're gonna try to make sure, and really they are gonna try to make sure that you have all the information so there's not pop-up issues later that we didn't know about. So it really is a full community dialogue, and we need experts to do this work, to get the info as it comes in out to you, and to also get the right questions. We're all gonna be there as a board members to listen, to understand, and to share what we know through this process. And as we go through this, it's a tight timeline, but we are bringing in people that know what they're doing and have a big track record. And we're looking at lots of different ways. So we're looking at how do we survey? How do we survey parents at every single level? Are we getting enough information through those surveys? What are we doing with the online comments? How are we coding them and organizing them to put weight behind them? How are we engaging in the community at pickup and drop off? But also, how are we engaging the community, not in focus groups, but in conversational listening sessions? What are the issues? And then how do we build from there? And what more information do we need around that? So a democratic deliberation process in understanding and building through. So there's lots of different types of ways to engage with this, but there is not any one of us has a dead answer and is not going to change if we get information back and it says we need to move in this direction or that direction. We want to move forward because this is the health of our children, but we want to make sure that all of our children are taken care of. And that means all of our parents and all of our bus drivers. So we're also going to be talking to the school staff, the teachers, as well as the kids, because guess what? They should have a voice in this as well. So that's a lot, but I hope it's helpful. Anything you would add? You?
No, I think that was well said, and I think that's our goal as well, is to, provide the information to the board that they need to make an informed decision about what we can do, what are the constraints that we have, and certainly listening to the voices that you talked about is really critical to making sure that we're doing our best to try to address the challenges regardless of what direction we head, but certainly want to be prepared for whatever that direction is. So thank you.
And I just wanted to say that no money that we might spend or not tonight would preclude our hiring of more bus drivers. Our search for bus drivers is ongoing and it's serious. And if that is really a concern of those in the community, I urge you to send anybody who might be interested in driving a bus for our district. We're a really great place to work, and we have just increased our salaries and bonuses for our bus drivers. You can head to the Lmsd website, and we would love to hear from you, and we would love to hire more bus drivers if you are available and willing and want to work for us.
Great. Excuse me. Okay, thank you. Thank you for everyone who commented. We're going to move on to the next part of our agenda. We're going to do each of these individually. Mr. Orlando, would you please read the first one?
Sure. The administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the attached agreement with Tierney Communication and Brownstone Statement of Work for support surrounding the school start time proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Orlando. I had written up a little summary to share, but I think that Dr. Sotner did a much better description of the importance and why we feel it's important to get the support to do this right.
May I ask a quick question about it? I was looking through and I saw that they had ambassadors is what they called them, so folks that are going to go and run those surveys at places like pick up and drop off or at community events at the grocery store, wherever they're going. Is that included in the flat fee, or is that included in the additional out-of-pocket costs that they laid out as a possibility?
That's within the scope.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other thoughts, comments? Do I have a motion to proceed? To approve, sorry.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Any abstentions? Motion passes. Mr. Orlando, will you read the second one, please?
The Board of School Directors recommends the approval of the attached agreement with Hazard Young and Attia Associates for the recruitment of a new superintendent.
Thank you. So I wanted to take a moment now and share briefly where we are with our search for a successive superintendent of schools. We have much work going on at the board level with everything going on with school start times, but we are moving forward on our superintendent search. So to assist and counsel the board through this process, we're again retaining the services of Hazard Young and Attia and Associates, HYA. It's a consulting firm that specializes in assisting school boards in identifying, recruiting executive-level educational leaders. This is the firm that we used, that we worked with in 2021 to hire Dr. Mameen. So as we did with our search in 2021, we will be working with HYA to identify opportunities, additional opportunities for community engagement in developing a leadership profile and selection criteria that match the priorities of our community and that meet sort of the unique needs of our students. And to complement this work, I'm going to speak to the third vote that we'll be taking. We are also would like to engage, work with Offer, which is a leading talent broker firm that helps organizations hire the best executives for their culture, context, and community. So we're going to engage Offer to assess LMSD's current culture and climate before completing job descriptions, and we'll be able to use that information in conjunction with working with HYA during our executive search. This talent and culture audit is an opportunity for us to pause and sort of learn more about the cultural conditions and context of the district to set current stakeholders and the new hire up for success, that we want to make sure that, that we move forward in a positive manner. So first, do we have a motion to approve the HYA contract?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Mr. Orlando, can you read the third
The
one?
Board of School Directors recommends to approve the offer agreement for talent and cultural audit as described in the attached agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Orlando. Does any have comments or questions? I should have asked that before.
I just wanted to say that I have a little concern about, while we're spending all of this money, about spending over $50,000 on a culture audit when we have just been through a superintendent search and we will just go through another superintendent search. And it seems like we're spending a lot of money on a lot of surveys. And so I just have concerns about the necessity of adding yet another community survey on top of what we've done here.
To be clear, this is not a community survey. It's, there'll be, It's an organizational sort of review or audit, so very different than a survey.
You want me to jump in? So had you been on the presentation, she went in depth about the methods in which they engage with the entire district and our central admin team, as well as board and community members, to give us recommendations about where we have strengths and where we have areas of growth that next sets up the superintendent and subsequent administrative team members, as well as leaders in all of our systems in the district, in alignment with our commitment to anti-racism and equity. And that's in the form of recommendations and best practices.
Any other comments? Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions? Motion passes. So thank you all. Upcoming meeting dates are, which will all be in person in the district, here in the District Administration Office Boardroom unless otherwise noted. Thursday, February 16th is the Facilities and Purchasing Committee meeting here at 8:30. Will be live streamed and recorded. February 21st is our next regular business board meeting at 8 p.m. here. Please note that's a Tuesday because of the long holiday weekend that is coming up. And then on Wednesday, February 22nd is the Equity and Anti-Racism Committee meeting at 7 p.m. via Zoom. Also upcoming events I mentioned earlier, the ISC hot topic around social emotional learning is at 9:30 via Zoom. Wednesday is the Committee for Special Education Transition Series. It's a part 3 of creating a roadmap for inclusive IEPs and transition plans. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. via Zoom. Thank you all for your time this evening, and our meeting is adjourned.